I'm very seriously thinking about spending £2,000 of your money on a kiosk to go out here in the middle of the car park so that we can continue to serve tea and coffee throughout the winter. Why? Because I am absolutely obsessed with us being a community. For me, Christianity is not something that can be done on our own. And even if we think we're doing it on our own, we're all part of a family, we're all part of a community simply by the fact that we're baptised. And so my mission and my challenge is to make sure that everyone not only knows, but that they feel that they belong to the body of Christ. Hence why I'll stop at nothing for us to be able to have a cup of tea together after Mass. Perhaps that's why I really like the guy who wrote today's Gospel. St. Matthew was writing to the early church at a time for when, as followers of Jesus, things could have gone either way for them. Jesus left behind a community. Communities are a great when they work. There's that sense of belonging and shared endeavour. But it's not so great when they don't work. Then communities can become very exclusive, very inward-looking, very cult-like, and almost totalitarian towards their members. After all, what do you do when someone steps out of line or when they do something that endangers or upsets the rest of the community? St. Matthew would have had to face that dilemma many, many times. Do you excommunicate that person and thus risk becoming an even smaller and more exclusive cult? Or do you let it go and risk undermining the very values that bind you together as a community? Throughout this Gospel, St. Matthew uses Jesus' words and example and seeks to apply them to real-life problems and to real-life situations. Hence, he's always talking about forgiveness, he's always talking about our shared values, and he's always talking about the way in which we treat each other. Today's Gospel is typical of this. In today's Gospel, Jesus is talking about what we should do when someone wrongs us within the community. Do we publicly humiliate them? Do we shut them out? Do we resort to the parents' WhatsApp group or what? Jesus is saying that we should talk with them discreetly, one-to-one, and only then, only if they refuse to listen, should we take steps to escalate things. The whole process is marked by mutual respect. What the Bible describes as brotherly or sisterly correction is not a power game, but rather it's a way of building consensus. It's a way of attempting to reconcile. It's a way of mutually discovering what is the best and the right thing to do. And that requires respect and understanding on both sides. It's not about tearing a strip off the other person or making them feel this small. Jesus' approach to problems within the community really ought to characterise our church life, our family life, and even our work life. It ought to characterise our relationship, not just with those who we consider to be our peers and equals, but even with our boss, with our teachers, with our priests. It applies to those whom we find ourselves in authority above, as well as with our superiors. But in order to do that, it requires that we respect that person, that we care about our community, and that we're not afraid in dealing with them to discover that maybe, just maybe, it was us who was in the wrong.